You're listening to the 808s and Joysticks podcast, now available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
Welcome to the 5th episode of 808s and Joysticks, the show that bridges the gap between games, music, seasoned with pop culture. I'm Tyrell, and joining me today as always is Tom.
As usual, it's been a busy week in the gaming industry. E3 is right around the corner, only a few months away now, and things are definitely heating up for a very good E3. Speaking about new games though, Dying Light, the Battle Royale mode that they announced recently, is actually coming very soon. And we saw some gameplay of that this week thanks to IGN. Now, it's a 6-player competition where you have to go against 5 other people collecting blood samples from the zombies and basically making sure that you're the first one to get to the helicopter or you're the last surviving one that gets to the helicopter. Now, I like the concept, but after seeing some of the gameplay, I'm not sure this is going to be a very good mode. I feel like there's not enough content in it, and I feel like it's definitely going to be lacking for what they call a Battle Royale mode. What are your opinions on this?
Yeah, I agree with you. Because when I was initially watching the gameplay, I'm rewatching it now as we speak, and yeah, it's like a 6-player competition, and you know, in comparison to all the other battle royales out there, I just don't think that's enough players either. Like, do you agree with me? Like, don't you think that you should have at least more players than that? At least 10. Like, 6 players. That's quite a small amount.
Yeah,
and
I could see where they're coming from, but
I can see the whole, you know, they're trying to keep it small scale because I feel like maybe having that many people within it, like, and plus all the zombies, it could get a little bit chaotic. But at the same time, like, I don't think it really warrants calling it a battle royale. It's not very similar to the format that we're used to, but that's also a good thing because it's a bit more unique than the other games. But I can't really see it, you know, taking the thunder away from PUBG or Fortnite or any of the other battle royale modes that are out there that are, you know, bubbling under the scene right now. So
no, I definitely think it's something to be considered as a concept wise going forward for battle royale games taking a different approach. But I don't think they executed it well. I feel like it feels like a single player game, and then, like, personally, from watching the gameplay video, I think it was like 8 minutes in of a 10-minute gameplay video of a 10-minute match. So, like, 8 minutes in is the first time I saw someone that wasn't AI. And then everyone rushed towards that helicopter as soon as everyone's collected blood samples. And it was basically just fight each other in this circle, like 5 of you, until whoever wins gets on the helicopter. And it just...
yeah, exactly.
It just felt like the last, I don't know, 10 minutes of a battle royale match with AI rather than the actual the battle royale mode that we know and so many people love.
Well, it's like it almost felt like, yeah, it felt like it was just Dying Light again when I was watching it. I was thinking, what is really that different except for the whole collect blood samples thing? And I don't know much about the core game of Dying Light, but I feel like that's already an element that's in the game as well, like this destroy hives, collect blood samples. I'm assuming that's something that's already in it because it is a zombie apocalypse type game, so I would assume that you would have to destroy some type of hive of zombies and would have to collect blood samples, whether that's to try and find a cure or whatever. But I'm looking at the game, I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't really work that well as a battle royale. They should have just released it how they are going to release it, which is an expansion. And they could have released it as a standalone if they really wanted to.
I think they are releasing it as a standalone, but I don't think it's going to take off as a standalone, personally.
Nah, it won't. No one's going to buy this for a standalone. There's not even enough to do in there. Unless they keep updating it with free updates, I can't really see in it be a great standalone or anything. Well, I don't know. It's just one of them in it, really. Like, everyone's trying to capitalize on the whole Battle Royale mode, and, sometimes it will succeed and sometimes it won't. That's what we said in the previous episodes, that not everyone can have the same success as Fortnite. Like, you can't just make your game into a battle royale game, even though it's got nothing to do with like the formula that's actually worked. Because it is a survival horror game, survival zombie game, but would it work in a battle royale mode? No, not really, because you're not really against other people. You're just kind of like against zombies. So you've already got to survive against them. And then you've got like other players, which is just it's stupid, to be honest. And the map is so big as well. Like, for 6 players. Like, how are you supposed to find anyone?
Yeah, that was the thing. I don't feel like you actually found anyone during the gameplay. And that was one of the massive things for me, that it didn't feel like it was an online experience until the very end. And then it was like a free-for-all. And I feel that even though Battle Royale games still have the element of a free-for-all, I think they need to be balanced to the point where everyone meets someone along the way in the long game, rather than everyone seeing each other at the end and just sort of having a free-for-all shootout.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah, well, as you can see from our opinions, pretty lackluster from, first initial thoughts. But it is pre-alpha gameplay, so I guess we give it some time in it. It could improve when the initial thing comes out. But if this is pre-alpha build and they said they're going to release it soon, I can't see this deviating that much from what we're already seeing, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, but speaking of, Battle Royale and, seeing if the formula works, there's a new Battle Royale game that is also out called Radical Heights. And it's, you might know it from a very well-known game designer, developer, should I say, Cliffy B. I'm sure it's Cliffy B. It's Cliffy B, isn't it? Cliffy B has come out with a Battle Royale game, because we all know Lawbreakers was a flop.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know when Cliffy B was working on this, because it seems to be pretty done. Like, I don't know when he did it. It's quite funky, quite unique. It's like someone crossed over. What's that game called? It's like, I don't know. It could be something to do with them, though, to be honest. It's like Saints Row, in my opinion. That's what I feel like. What I'm getting, those kind of like vibes, like a Saints Row vibes with Fortnite.
Yeah, so it's
what
got
do you
like
think?
that goof appeal to it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's got like that appeal to it.
Yeah, well, it's free to play. It's basically like a game show, and it's got some interesting mechanics that Fortnite doesn't have and other Battle Royale games don't have. So I'm not entirely sure how the safe zone stuff works, but there seems to be like grid sections as well as the circle, which is something different. But then instead of collecting, so sort of going out and finding loot and stuff, you can still do that, but you normally loot cash now in this game, which gives you the ability to buy guns and armor at many of the machines that are dotted around the map. It's a different perspective and a different thing going on, and there's a lot of prize drops as well because of the fact that it's a virtual game show. So it's still got the Fortnite element where it's got that sort of cartoon goof appeal to it. A lot of customizability, I'm guessing, in the future, but it's different in the fact that you have to play the game differently. Now, it doesn't look the most polished game that I've ever seen. It does look like it's been rushed out the door a little bit. But
well, if you've it's caught quite a lot of esteem because it's something that they're calling an extreme early access. So the game is literally bare bones. Like it is extreme. Like that's what they're calling it, an extreme early access. But it seems to be holding up against, I would say some of the more polished, finished games, which is kind of good. Like, PUBG's had a lot of time to develop and they still haven't fixed the game properly on Xbox. The mobile version runs better than the Xbox version, so that just says it all. Fortnite's pretty polished, bringing in new features all the time, but that is headed by a really major company. It's headed by Epic Games. But this is extreme early access, but apparently a lot of people are having a lot of fun with this game. Carry on.
Well, I was going to say then, just to add to your point, I do think that although this game is in early access and it's not polished, from watching the whole gameplay through of a match and seeing different people play it and how you interact with stuff, and then the Saints Row comparison, I do feel that if Fortnite is, for example, the GTA of the Battle Royale, this has the potential to be the Saints Row, where it's not the biggest game in the world, but if they include all that customizability and, they include the drivable vehicles and stuff, because obviously there's a bike at the moment, but I'm guessing they have plans for future, and they flesh this out a little bit more and maybe get a few more people in with more updates, I do think that this game is going to take off and fill that sort of gap in between PUBG and Fortnite, because Fortnite's sort of, I'd say it's more family based because it's not got the violence as much in it because the art style, it's not classed as much with violence. But then PUBG, obviously, that's more realistic graphics, so people assume that's going to be a more violent game. Whereas with this being in the middle and being so goofy and the concept of the game show behind it, you can basically implement a lot of different things into this that you couldn't implement into the other games because of the fact of how goofy it is, and you'd be able to get away with it. And I think longevity-wise, this has more potential for it than possibly PUBG. Because if you think of it, if you're playing a Battle Royale game and you're investing your money into something and you want to have fun at the same time, PUBG is good, but a lot of people take it seriously. Fortnite is good, but you can't. It's not like pay to win. You can only pay to customize stuff. Whereas this, I'm not saying that you should pay to win, but the fact that you earn money in the game, which then in turn leads you the ability to buy things, that for them long-term wise can play into their hands. Because Fortnite, you don't really earn money in the game, so you can't pay for anything.
Yeah. I understand what you mean.
Because I think I'm not sure if people can deposit their money in a cash machine so they can use it in later games in this, apparently. Which means if they do that and people start building up money, that means you could unlock like prestige weapons and stuff by having that money. So it means the more you play, the more you get out of it. And it is play to win then, but at the same time, that's sort of what you want in a game like that. And you could set up matchmaking to make sure that people that don't have that ability stay on a different map or something.
I just don't really like. I just don't really know about this whole battle royale thing. I feel like it's slightly getting out of hand. I don't, don't you think like every game that's coming out now is just battle royale, like fueled? Like when's the next one gonna come out now?
Yeah, I think it is going to be a year of battle royale rip-offs, but that's why I think this game, even though they've pushed it out early, I think that
it's got something different
because of the uniqueness to it. It can maybe hold itself, but I think it's a limited time for people releasing battle royale games to grab a hold on stuff, and this could be the one that possibly fills that final gap.
And to be honest, Cliffy B, he can't afford another flop.
Mm-hmm.
He can't, because I know he put too much money into Lawbreakers, and for it to not work, he lost a lot. So Radical Heights needs to work, and so far it is working. I don't know how they make the money. Is there in-app purchases on Radical Heights?
I've no idea. I've not actually had time to play the game. I've just watched gameplay.
Yeah, I haven't played the game either. I don't have a powerful enough PC. I only have a MacBook at the moment. But I know they are going to bring it to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox soon, and they're going to release 1.0 in 2019. So we'll just see. We'll just have to see what exactly is going to go on. But, you know, all these Battle Royale games, it can only spell disaster sometimes because, you know, we had all the zombie games and boy, did that get boring. Mm-hmm. It got boring as shit really fast as soon as like everyone's like making their own. And it's funny because PUBG actually comes from one of those games. It comes from DayZ. So we'll see. We'll just really have to see. You want to talk about Far Cry 5? I haven't really played it, but I know that you having a great time right now. How far are you in?
Yeah, I'm. Without giving anything away, spoiler wise, I'll say that I'm probably just halfway to 2/3 of the way in. And that is a fun game. Like the first area that I was freeing, basically I didn't even do half the missions. I was just roaming around, and you can earn prestige points from doing stuff anyway, like freeing people, just typical Far Cry stuff that happens. But you just find yourself like going off and getting lost. Like there's one point where like I just overtook a stronghold and then walked outside, and there's a enemy van going past with passengers in, so I shot that van, that stopped, then an enemy came out of the bushes, started shooting at me, then he started running away, then a bear came chasing after him, and then the bear was like running towards me, and he was just it was just a hectic like minute of the game. But
sounds fun.
It's really fun, like the randomness of it and how alive the world feels. And again, the actual story and everything behind it, it's actually quite a good story. I'm enjoying playing through the story, but you can play through the story and then sort of take a step out and do whatever you want and still progress, and I think that's nice. But it's also packed full of Easter eggs, a lot of random stuff, even some of the missions for the story. Like, it's just a nice game to play. It's one of the best games I've played in a long time, I'd say.
That's a bit of a statement.
It's got the serious aspects to it where you can play through the story, but then it's just so fun to play. And
does it still have the whole like? Do you have to go to like a kind of like a beacon point, like a watchtower? Is that still a thing?
No.
No, they took that out of the game.
Yeah, they've took that out of the game, and they've also took the mini map out of the game.
Oh yeah, I remember when we had a like an off the record conversation. We was you told me they had no mini map, and I was like, what? Like, how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so they've still got like a hood at the top, sort of Skyrim-esque, where you've got like a compass. but
Mm-hmm.
it definitely means you aren't following a line all the time. So you just find yourself like walking towards stuff that you can see on a compass or stuff that you can see in the distance, and then something will come out of somewhere and you don't know what's happening.
Nice. I think I would enjoy that because that gives you more time to I guess to have random encounters and like bump into things you would see on the way. Then I guess.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the main things why I'm enjoying it, is because of the fact that I'm finding myself exploring stuff more and not trying to rush through it. Like, I've got pretty far through it, but I'm still just taking my time and still enjoying myself going off and doing random things. And I think that's great. Plus, I also got the season pass, so I can't wait for Far Cry 3 remaster to come out when that comes out, because that's like the classic Far Cry as well, so I can get 2 for the price of 1 there.
Yeah, exactly. Have they confirmed or not, or like whether it is it like a texture remaster or is it just a scaled up like type deal?
I think personally, I don't think they've said anything from what I can see. But I'm gonna guess possibly just like a texture remaster. It might be enhanced for PS4 Pro or something like that, like Red Dead Redemption for the Xbox One X just was. But we'll have to wait and see. But for the included in the season pass, it's like a free game to sort of play and get back into. That was a good game that I enjoyed. And speaking about stuff like that, obviously the big news in the last week or so, Spyro, of course. Spyro the Reignited trilogy.
Spyro is back. That's just because like Crash was so popular and everyone just like loved it. They just had to bring Spyro back, and it looks really good. It looks really nice. All the textures, the graphics look real cool. I can't wait because Spyro was a great game. So many memories on PlayStation 1 of playing that game. Even though I don't think I've ever really completed a Spyro game because I used to just get lost a lot as like a young kid. But it was a great game and I've got great memories of Spyro. What do you think? We did predict this though, didn't we? We did say that Spyro was going to come eventually.
Yeah, I think it would have been stupid for them not to bring Spyro back, but it's something I'm excited for. I haven't managed to play the Crash remake yet. I am looking to get that. I'm just prioritizing other things at the moment. But
are you going to get the Switch version?
Yeah, so possibly get the Switch version. Spyro as well, not been announced for Switch, but they haven't denied it. The developers have talked about it. Toys for Bob are making Spyro, the Reignited trilogy, and Toys for Bob also made the early Skylanders games. So they've worked with Spyro before, in a way. And I think that's where they've captured that art style and stuff and made it up to date and current, yet still kept that same feel to Spyro.
Yeah, even though their Spyro, remember Spyro didn't look that great in Skylanders.
No, they didn't look fantastic. But they worked on the Crash Bandicoot trilogy port to Switch. So if the same team's behind that's ported a game to Switch already, I think it's only time until we hear the Switch announcement. But I think Nintendo are saving it for a Nintendo Direct because it's a big thing for them. Sell more consoles. They'll obviously put it in their own conference to make sure it doesn't get overshadowed by the announcement of it in a whole, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's because that would be the first time Spyro as a series comes to a Nintendo console.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, if I'm not mistaken, they said that about Crash, but Crash was on the GameCube, so I don't know what they were on about. But I think they meant the first 3 main Crash Bandicoots have not been released on a Nintendo console before. So yeah, the first 3 Spyros coming out would be a big deal for Nintendo. Who knows? We could get E3 might be the one.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be E3 Nintendo Direct. I think they'll wait until the Spyro hype dies down again, and then build it back up for Switch. Come E3.
Yeah, Spyro was just it was cool,
but it
made a. Karen.
I was going to say the like you said before, the graphics look amazing. It looks just like the original games, but basically updated to current. And then the other thing is, without interrupting or anything, but there is a free PS4 theme of Spyro the Reignited Trilogy on the PlayStation Store if you do pre-order the trilogy from the PlayStation Store. So, you know, it's nice that you get the dynamic theme and the avatar and stuff if you want to order it from the store. Mm-hmm. If you're a diehard Spyro fan, that might be a thing for you.
I'm assuming they'll probably come out with a really cool limited edition though, as well, like a statue or something. I don't know what they did for Crash, to be honest. I don't know if they did anything like that, but I think they didn't really know that Crash was going to be that popular, like amongst everyone, because it was popular for new fans and it was popular for the older fans as well, and it sold really well. It was at the top of the UK game sales for ages.
Yeah, so, and Spyro as well being £30 again. It's like £10 a game.
Great pricing as well. I'm so glad that they're not trying to pull this bullshit on us and charge us a whole £50 for an old game. Like, come on now. It wasn't that well. Back in the day, games prices were a little bit expensive, but it's 3 remastered games that are not really that long either as well. So for them to try and charge us like £50 would be a little bit like, whoa, like can't really charge us that much because it's not a very, it's not a fair pricing in my opinion. But yeah, £30 is great, very affordable, a nice game for everyone, family, friends, children, doesn't matter what age really. It's quite a simple game to play. Oh yeah, Spyro, very excited. We'll be getting it. We'll be getting it indeed.
Yeah.
Following on from that, Spider-Man got a release date. A whole lot of stuff. I know Tom knows a little bit more about this than me, because I have been following Spider-Man, but not as much though. Just because I don't know, like I don't think I'm just really into like Spider-Man as a game now. Like, it does look cool, but like I've already seen I've already played Spider-Man lots of times now. Like, I don't know what else is really different. Like, this is a very dynamic game. Like, I like how the movement is and whatnot, and I can see how fun it's going to be. And it's a PlayStation 4 exclusive as well. But I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
I have a feeling that you'll like this game. I think that we haven't heard too much on it, and I think that's good. But the gameplay that I've seen, it reminds me of Spider-Man 2 a lot from the PS2.
See, now Spider-Man 2 was a great game,
and that's the reason why I don't want to hold hopes too high and compare it to that, because obviously they're different games, but the web swinging looks perfect. And when I was seeing the gameplay, it reminded me of playing Spider-Man 2. Like, to me, it just looked like Spider-Man 2 as I saw it when I was a child. So I think that's definitely a good thing for a game, that it can take sort of some of the best of a... It's not really a series, but of the past franchise games, and then make it the same. So you have all the web swinging action. The missions look the same, where you can use your webs in certain ways and entice people in, or climb on steel beams above people and then shoot down, or control, say, like a digger with your web or something to knock them out of the way. And everything like the open world swinging, the new gadget wheel that we saw in the gameplay is something else that I'm excited in. So there's like trip wires and stuff now that you can set out with your webs and whatever. And it adds, like you said, it adds more dynamic to the game, but I think it allows you to be a bit more stealthy or tactical and play the game in a different way. So you could play the game maybe like all guns blazing, where you go out and just full combat. Or, you could sneak around stealthily and try and set up some traps and put some gadgets down.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not sure if Spider-Man 2 had some of the gadgets, but I think that's what made Spider-Man 2 so good, is the fact that you could play it stealthily or full on. Added in with the fact that the open world, you could just spend your time swinging around half the time, and that was fun enough.
Yeah, that is true. That is probably what was the most fun in Spider-Man 2, was, the open world and just being able to actually touch the ground. Because if you remember, like, Spider-Man, the game, the first one on PlayStation 2, you couldn't touch the ground. And number one on the PlayStation, all the PlayStation 1 Spider-Man games, you couldn't touch the ground either. Like, if you was, like, swinging on buildings, you usually, like, set up stages.
Mm-hmm.
So for it to go to open world, Spider-Man 2 was really cool. And from what I know about Spider-Man, which is, like, a good thing for, like, the fans, is the swinging is physics-based, so it's not scripted. And got Miles Morales there. Like, it seems like they've really tried to make a game that is for the comic book fans, and tried to make sure that it's a good game at that, and do Spider-Man justice, because he's had a lot of shit games. There's been a lot of shit Spider-Man games, so I'm glad that it's gonna have justice done. And the open world is supposed to be massive, because obviously it's saying kind of like a fiction New York City, isn't it? And it's going to be 4 to 6 times the size of Sunset Overdrive, which I never played, but I think Sunset Overdrive's open world was supposed to be quite good for when it did come out.
Yeah,
so for it to be
I
4
forgot
to
that the
6
developers
times,
of that are making this. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Insomniac. Yeah, Insomniac are making this. So I'm looking forward to it. Really, I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully... Wait, Insomniac. It is Insomniac. Is that the one that... What else did they make?
I think Insomniac used to make Spyro.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. And they made Ratchet and Clank as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Insomniac are a great company, actually. Yeah, and they used to make the Resistance series as well. That was one of the sickest shooters on PlayStation 3. So sick. Resistance was great.
Yeah, but when you mentioned the physics swinging, that's something that's, if you watch the gameplay, if you get a chance to go and watch the gameplay, just search for Spider-Man PS4 gameplay, and there's some new gameplay that came out this week. But you can see when if you take a nosedive, so you can, there's different buttons that control, like when you're flying or swinging, for example. So you could take a nosedive and then at the last minute throw a web to swing, but once you build up all that momentum, you take that momentum into the swing with you.
Oh.
And it's really interesting to see that's a thing, and there's still skill involved in like swinging and stuff, and you can then wall run if you time it correctly. And there's also the ability to, I think if you hold down R2, that you can parkour as well now, which is a different aspect, but also interesting aspect. because I don't think that's something that we've seen that much before. And it's nice to see, like, I think it'd be nice to see the fluidity of it, and it'll play through like you're playing a movie or what you would imagine in a comic book. And I think that's what they're really trying to go for, that authentic feel.
Yeah, they're just trying to capture Spider-Man, and they're trying to do it in its essence, like the movement, the way how he is, like, you know, the way how he responds to danger, like, you know, with the Spidey senses and whatnot. So I think it's looking good so far. As I said, like, I'm still a little bit wary about it because, you know, there's been a lot of shit Spider-Man games and don't really be disappointed. And it's not something that I might, you know, I'm not going to, like, be like, yes, I'm going out there to buy a Spider-Man. But I would get it along the line. Like, I will want to play it because it does look good. And, Insomniac seem to be doing a pretty good job. I just wonder what their direction is going to be after Spider-Man, because I'm looking at their track record and they haven't really made anything like a game, like standalone for 2000 since 2014. They made Sunset Overdrive, and now Spider-Man is going to be like their next big project. So that's pretty interesting. Any further thoughts on Spider-Man?
There's the DLC that we didn't mention. So there's pre-order bonus content, different suits, but that leads into the line that they have said they're going to be revealing more suits and stuff in the future. So I think it's nice that you have the customizability to change your suit around. So Mario Odyssey recently put in like a Nintendo 64 skin that you could play with. So maybe like an old low poly Spider-Man 2 skin would be something that possibly could be in this game.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I want to see something like that.
But that's everything I have on that. But going back to something we spoke about last week, and more information has been so-called leaked this week again. We spoke a lot about Pokemon last week, and this week, a Comic-Con conference sponsored by Nintendo in Spain has possibly leaked the information regarding Pokemon coming to Switch. Now, so it's an article in Revista Official Nintendo magazine. So basically, just goes through what's coming to Nintendo Switch, and Pokemon is in there, and it says that, I just get the translation, that after a lifetime associated with portable consoles, the canonical Pokemon will take the leap to a table with its 8th generation. Game Freak and the Pokemon Company are rethinking the saga to surprise with new mechanics, either in 2018 or later. So it doesn't confirm a release date as such. It does say 2018 or later. However, that basically, if this is to be took for granted, considering, you know, this is a leak still, so this is just purely speculation from a photo on Twitter.
Yeah,
but it is an official conference sponsored by Nintendo. It does mean that an 8th generation Pokemon game that is canonical is coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2018 or later.
And I just can't wait to see what they're gonna do, because I'm so glad that, you know, we're not gonna get a remaster, even though we was talking about whether it was gonna be a remaster or not, and I really didn't want it to be one. I really wanted it to be something new, something exciting. It's on Nintendo's brand new best-selling console, and it's time for something fresh for the Pokemon series now, not just a new generation or something, further. I want to see something else. Like I want to see something a bit more. Like it's an RPG, but let's like expand on that. Like let's make it 3D or but not in the sense of like, because I know it's already 3D on the 3DS, but I'm talking about like, let's make it more open world, kind of like what you said about the whole Breath of the Wild thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that idea seems really cool.
So just for context, I'm not sure if we mentioned it last week, but before the show we were discussing this a little bit, and I said that it's nice to know that the 8th generation has been like leaked and it's a possibility, but I think it would have been nice to see them basically take the game back to its roots, the first generation, but then completely revamp the game. There's still possibility of that in the future, obviously, but I don't think they're going to take too many risks with bringing it to a new console. I know they've mentioned changing game mechanics there, but I think that's just to adapt it to being on one screen instead of two, like it was on the DS. But there has been that leaked screenshot as well of a Lapras going around, which is meant to be running on a Switch. The Pokemon Company did tweet out an image earlier, I think it was the other day, of a Lapras plush toy with an Eevee on top of it, sort of like in the screenshot. I think it was just like a goof to basically say, we've noticed that this is there, but they didn't really say anything about it. They didn't confirm or deny it. They just put it out there. I think that was just to give something to the fans as like a little joke, but I don't think that's them confirming it. But if you see people running the Pokemon games on PC emulators, the current graphics on PC emulators that are currently on the DS, once they're scaled up to HD, they actually look really good. So could they have been planning this for longer than we thought?
Well, yeah, they've been planning this for a while. They've been planning a way how to bring mainline Pokemon onto like a home Nintendo console rather than just handhelds. Even though handhelds has been their bread and butter, and that's what they know, and they know it works on a handheld. But it's time for Pokemon to show out on the main consoles once again, because Nintendo they kind of abandoned Pokemon on consoles for quite a few years now. They haven't really bothered with it, have they?
No, I think the last thing was so the only game that I've known of was Pokken.
But even that is it's a fighting game, which is basically Pokemon, it's basically Tekken. It's basically Tekken mechanics with Pokemon. Like it's not really a Pokemon game. It's cool, and I don't think really Pokemon fans even like the hardcore Pokemon fans that like to play the handheld. I don't think they really liked it because they don't play fighting games, so it wasn't something that they were really interested in. But I know like the fighting game community was interested in it. Like, say for the ones that like Pokemon and I like the fighting games, there's a little crossover there that enjoyed the game, and it did have quite a strong community. I don't know how it's going right now, but I know when it first came out, I did used to watch the tournaments of Pokken, and it was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I've got the demo on my Switch, and it's okay, but I'm not a massive fighting game person, and for me, like, even the gimmick isn't enough to make me want to play it. I played it like once to try it, but I haven't gone back to it. But
fair enough.
Like a main series Pokemon game coming to the Switch, I'd play that. Even if it's like the current Pokemon, but so currently it's like 3D. If they just upscale those graphics a little bit and adapt it a tiny bit, I do think that it would be nice on a Switch. It won't be a Breath of the Wild, but it'll be something a little bit different.
Yeah, well, no one's trying to say that. It doesn't need to strive to the level of, detail and beauty that is Breath of the Wild, but I feel like they could create something very similar and it could work, and they could do it in its own Pokemon style. Regardless of what's going to happen, we know it's going to be unique and it's going to be very different because it's Pokemon. Like, Pokemon, this is what they do. Like, they're constantly coming up with different Pokemon. This is Generation 8 now. So let's have to see. And, the game itself, the franchise, the community is not going anywhere. It's not getting any smaller. It's growing. Pokemon Go is still played by many people across the world. So is the handheld games.
Yeah, recently got an update.
Recently
single player campaign mode, sort of.
Yeah, that kind of like a story mode within Pokemon Go. So, arguably that's like its own game now because it's got story mode and everything, and there's a lot more to do, and they're constantly updating that game. So yeah, Pokemon is well and alive. So hopefully the Nintendo Switch is going to be, Nintendo Switch Pokemon, sorry, it's going to be a great game. Any further thoughts?
I think this leads into the nice topic nicely. So, Ni no Kuni 2, we haven't really spoken about that since it came out a few weeks ago, but that had a lot of sort of creature capturing aspects in the first game. They sort of still apply in the second game, but not as much. But I think if Pokemon was done in this style, I think that's something that could work really nicely.
Well, Ni no Kuni is, everyone puts it up there as like one of the best games on PlayStation 3 first came out, and number 2 was very highly anticipated, and it took a while for it to come out. I've never played the series at all, and I don't really know much about the game itself either. I just know it's very beautiful looking though.
Yeah,
like the art style and the graphics is breathtaking.
The original game was based around sort of Studio Ghibli animation and helped by some of the animators, I believe. The second game, I don't think has the same influence, but it still keeps that sort of iconic style and looks beautiful again. The gameplay's been slightly changed, so it used to be relatively turn-based, I believe, and it's now a little bit more real-time. So the creatures that you catch don't have as much say in the fight. Instead, they give you abilities. So it's sort of nicely linked, but it's a little bit different. I don't think some people liked it, but the game's still getting like really good reviews, and apparently this is one of the best paced JRPGs possibly ever. I do think if you're interested in really nice like animation, so basically all the stuff like the Studio Ghibli films or possibly The Boy and the Beast, stuff like that, if you are interested in that, then this would be a game that I think you'd thoroughly enjoy to play. Again, it's a game I do want to pick up when I get the chance to. There's just a lot of games coming out at the moment, and it's hard to try and find the time to play all of them and like which ones to buy at the same time.
Yeah, there's just too much coming out at the moment. Like, I totally feel you on that, Tom. And I don't know. I'm just looking at like screenshots and everything of it, and it just looks really cool. Like, I feel like I should really play it.
Yeah, so it basically seems more like a interactive anime movie, you would say. Like,
yeah, exactly. That is exactly what it looks like.
It's like an interactive animation in a way. and I think that's one of the amazing things about it, that people are so interested to play it, is that the fact that it looks so beautiful, and looking so beautiful, it's then really nice to play. But also the story is meant to be quite good, to be honest. Or the fact that it carries that animation, so it always feels like you're, even when you're playing the game, it feels like you're in the cutscene as well. They're not, they don't differ too much like some games possibly do.
Yeah,
and that's where I think Pokemon could possibly take from that.
Yeah.
So, recently I read something where people were discussing the Pokemon League, and someone mentioned that it might be nice to do like an open world Pokemon, but have a lot of the stuff from the early animes in it. And I thought if they rebooted it and that was included as well, like that would be really nice to have, like that sort of the same style from the anime in the game, because the games and the anime have never really, they've gone hand in hand in a way, but not sort of art style wise.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think for having that like crossover, I think the nostalgia of that, but also the fact that it's going to make the world feel quite alive and stuff.
Yeah.
I do feel like that's a way they can go. Whether Nintendo will do that, of course, is another story, because Game Freak don't have that much experience in doing stuff like that, and they've been working on the Pokemon games since the start. And again, obviously, they aren't going to want to completely drastically change how a main series Pokemon game is going to be. But I do think that it's something I'd like them to test at some point.
Yeah, because a lot of people sleep on the fact that the anime brought a lot of attention to Pokemon as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And it really popularized the series. That, along with the trading cards, were two real main things that, made me fall in love with the series itself. And I got it on Game Boy, Pokemon Red. And yeah, I think a lot of people forget about that. So yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if we want to move on to films and TV.
Yes, so we'll move on, and we'll start with something we probably don't agree on that much. Johnny English 3 was announced.
I don't even know why. Why? Who asked for Johnny English 3?
I mean, to be fair, the trailer, it looked good to me. The first film was one of my favourite films, but I'm not entirely sure what we can expect from it. It's a little bit different, obviously, in being older and coming back out of retirement. Whether that's going to play into the film being good or not, because the second film didn't live up to the first film.
Well,
basically looks like a milking thing from the studios.
Yeah, I was going to think, do you think Johnny English 3 has a real space in, like, current cinema right now?
I think there is still a gap for it. I think it's got that family-friendly comedy vibe to it. Obviously, Rowan Atkinson, everyone's always going to go and watch his films. But there's not too much that you can expect from a Johnny English film apart from that sort of goofy aspect to it.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, though, like that kind of slapstick humor, it's not. I don't know. You just don't really see it that much in the cinemas anymore, do you?
Not to the point where he does it. I don't think. I think Rowan Atkinson is considered possibly one of the greatest actors ever at doing that, and I think that's possibly why the franchise might still be able to to progress forward with a third film.
Yeah, it's true, because some people will just come out purely for the fact because it's Rowan Atkinson, aka Mr. Bean. For viewers that are from different countries or whatever, Mr. Bean. I don't know. Mr. Bean's probably known worldwide. It's pretty an international character and figure. Very famous on British television, and it was arguably probably like one of the pioneers of that type of like comedy as well. And he was kind of like silent humor, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember when he used to do stand-up, and a lot of that was actually silent stand-up as well. So it's something a little bit different to what he actually started. Well, to what he actually went on to do after Mr. Bean. So obviously Mr. Bean was silent as well. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a novelty film. I probably won't watch it in the cinema. I'll probably watch it if like one Christmas when it comes on the TV or something. But
yeah, it's like it's like one of those ones where like, would you really like go out your way to kind of like watch Johnny English 3? But like, it's one of them as well. Like, so Johnny English 3 is on. Yeah, let's watch it. Like,
but I do know a lot of older people would probably go and watch it, which is the weird thing. Like, they, because obviously it's Rowan Atkinson, they enjoy him in films, and I think people with families will go and see it because it's something that the parents can watch because they like him, and then the kids will find it funny as well. So I think it's basically just to cash in on the franchise, to be honest.
Yeah, on like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that's true.
Talking about cashing on franchises, the new Solo trailer came out.
What kind of segue was that?
That was a segue about Disney cashing in on Star Wars. That was the segue.
Oh, no. Well, they do a lot of that shit. They're fucking cashing on everything.
They do. There's a lot of opinion about it, so I thought I'd mention it. But it's not my personal opinion. I'm actually quite excited for this film, but a lot of people are saying that it's
that's
a
just because we're a part of the Donald Glover fan club. We're fanboys. Like, we're fanboys of both franchises, Star Wars and Beano. Like,
I don't think Beano's a franchise, but
well, it's not a franchise, but like he's an entity now, in it. Really, you can call him that because he just does so much. He just does so many things, and I don't know. I see the fanboys, like the hardcore, the original trilogy was better. Fanboys really hating on Solo at the moment. Some people are saying that, why couldn't they just get... I said this is the dumbest comment. Why couldn't they just get Harrison Ford and make him younger again? I was like, no. Like, how's that going to make any sense? Like, oh yeah, why don't you just go and get every other actor and just make them younger again?
I mean, yeah. There's several different aspects to this, so you could do that, but then he's not physically as capable as he was during the first trilogy.
Exactly. Didn't he like break his knee open or something on like the first?
he broke his leg. One of the doors shot on his leg in the in episode 7 filming, I think.
He's fragile. He's old. Like, you can't have him in everything now. Like, I don't even know how they're going to do Indiana Jones.
We saw in Rogue One as well. Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia were both CGI animated, and whilst it looked good, they didn't fit in perfectly. I don't think for a whole film you could stick with a CGI character stood next to normal
real life. Yeah, it would only work if they were literally going to avatar the whole thing.
Yeah, so that's like we spoke about last week, Ready Player One. I think that's the only way it could work if they do sort of a Ready Player One thing in a film. At the moment, I don't think the graphics are there yet to have them side by side.
No, yeah, I totally agree, because I'm just seeing some really outrageous comments about this film, and I don't know if it's just because they just want to hate, and it's not what they're used to seeing. But
is people basically getting upset at the fact that the lead guy playing Han Solo isn't Harrison Ford, which is understandable. But again, you've got to put into perspective. You can't hire an 80-year-old guy to play someone that's 20.
Exactly, like what are they expecting from everyone? Like, are we really going to put Harrison Ford in the same role again? Like, what is the point of that? Obviously, it's Solo. It's got everyone with their youth. It's when the whole it's just that's why I don't even go like anywhere near like forums and stuff like that when it's got to do with Star Wars, because you just know it's just going to be a shitstorm in there. Like, never happy about anything, but they'll go and watch the film like 6 times. What's the point then?
Yeah, but we sort of veered off from the trailer, but the trailer did look interesting. It showed us a little bit more. The one thing I'm not really that excited for is Emilia Clarke's character. I can't see her doing a good role in this film. I feel like she's decent in Game of Thrones, and possibly that's the only thing she's actually been good in that I've seen. Without slating her, but
I haven't really seen like an Emilia Clarke. Like, yeah, I know her about. I don't personally watch Game of Thrones, but I do know of her character in Game of Thrones, and it is a very notable one. So
it's not more the fact that she's recognizable as that, because she definitely looks different, but it's more her acting isn't as strong as the rest of the cast, and I don't know if that's going to affect her. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I don't act personally, so I can't really comment on other people's acting skills.
Yeah. Well, we will see. It's true though. She hasn't got that much experience, to be honest. When I'm like looking at her track record, like,
no, that's the thing, and
she's quite new on the scene, innit? Like, very interesting, very very interesting.
Yeah, and I can just make a transition to actors that maybe aren't that great, possibly ruining films. I watched Valerian this week and really liked that film. You didn't because of Cara Delevingne. So
it was just I don't know, man. It just felt really weird. Obviously, because I know her and Rihanna from like a different space, but seeing them in a film, I was just not like. It just wasn't. My head wasn't. It wasn't clicking. Like it just wasn't, and I didn't understand.
Yeah, so I didn't like Rihanna in the film. I don't think Rihanna needs to be in any more films. I think she just ruins it completely.
No, she wasn't bad. She wasn't bad in Battleship. It was an alright film. Battleship was alright, and she's got a good voice for animation. Like Home was alright as well. I like Home.
Okay, that's different though. I think animation is completely different to seeing someone on the screen, I think. But yeah, I like the film. I wouldn't say it was all-time best film ever. I think it was good. It had a good concept. It built from the comic it was based off. I do think if it was a bit more gritty and mature, and they possibly had a higher budget and a little bit better cast, then it could really be a good film. But as we saw when Blade Runner came out, I'm not sure if that thing actually sells anymore, that style of movie. I don't think people are looking for a gritty, mature sci-fi anymore. I think it's not really a thing that much. I think it's more of a niche now.
Oh, Blade Runner was so cool. So cool. I don't know, like... you're comparing it to Blade Runner, but I'm not gonna allow that. Like,
I think like some of the artistic direction in the city and stuff.
But it was trying to call itself like, you can't even really say it's a space opera, but that's what it's supposed to be in it. And wouldn't really call that. It was the English language French space. I don't know.
I thought it was a good film. I like the story. The story was different. It reminded me a tiny bit of Star Trek, but not as gimmicky. And that's why I think if it was a bit more mature and fleshed out, they could take it two directions. I feel like it sort of sat in the middle between trying to be family friendly and trying to be mature. And I think that's maybe what let it down on a big scale. Why not a lot of people went and saw it as much, because it didn't really give itself an audience from the promotional material or the film itself. I think you have to try and look for something in it rather than it gives you something. But I mean, it's upsetting that there's not going to be a second one, but it's not a loss. Someone else would come out and make a sci-fi film that's different anyway, so it's not that important.
True. It isn't that important. I just want to just say it's trash. Nah, it's not trash. That's really harsh. I can't say it's trash. I really can't. Some more sadder news though. This week, the co-founder of Studio Ghibli sadly passed away. His name was I don't want to butcher this name, but Isao Takahata. Director
I think you did that justice.
Director and co-founder of Studio Ghibli. He died at the age of 82, and he died of lung cancer, which is just really sad. And he did a lot of the great Studio Ghibli ones. Like, you just think it was all just Miyazaki, but no, it's not. This man was just as accountable for some of the great artwork and direction.
So he wasn't an animator or anything, but he launched his studio together with Miyazaki and Suzuki. His film, The Grave of Fireflies and My Neighbor Totoro, were released like together when they launched the studio like a few years later. Obviously, Totoro is more renowned than Grave of Fireflies.
Oh, Grave of Fireflies is a masterpiece, though.
But things like Pompoko, stuff like something that we actually watched together. That won. I think it won something. Yeah, it was chosen as Japan's entry for Best Foreign Language Film Oscar. So it didn't win, I don't think, but it was chosen by the country of Japan to put forward. And again, that's a really good film as well. All Studio Ghibli films are normally a good film. I don't think you can go wrong with them. And then the other thing was he returned in 2013 and released The Tale of Princess Kaguya. And I believe Chloe Moretz did the English dub on that.
Oh, you would fucking know that, wouldn't you?
No, I'm just saying that it's nice to know that, because that was actually released in cinemas here as well, in the UK.
Yeah, Chloe Moretz did. She did do the English dub on it, and Lucy Liu was in it as well. Yeah, it's just really sad. Obviously, you know, he lived a long life, gave us a lot of classic films. Was a part of being, you know, the co-founder of a very, very genre-defining animation studio. Not even just for Eastern animation, for Western animation as well. Like, you know, Disney took a lot of inspiration from the earlier works of Miyazaki, and it shows as well.
Well, his I think The Tale of Princess Kaguya was actually released in partnership with Disney in 2013.
Oh well, I think most of the animations from Studio Ghibli is with Walt Disney. Yeah, they do the distribution for them, usually like the international distribution. So Spirited Away was done by Disney as well. I think because I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure I think John Lasseter is a great fan of them.
Yeah. So again, it's sad news. There's a lot more we can say on it. I'm a massive Studio Ghibli fan, and it does mean that it's like the studio. Obviously, the studio hasn't been making films for that long recently. The original creators, but it does mean that it's slowly dying out. And whilst that's sad, it does mean that it opens the market up for possibly new, fresh people to come in and maybe take it over and do something, or maybe just let the studio die out, which I wouldn't be upset with that. I think it might be a good way to let the studio just sort of run off and end the course instead of ruining the actual, I can't think of the word, but basically the reputation it's gained over the years.
I understand what you mean. I definitely understand what you mean, because it's gained such esteem, and it has so many accolades, and people hold them up as such a way where, I would rather Studio Ghibli just decided to stop doing films or take a longer break than they usually do, because boy are them breaks long. And because Miyazaki, he's working on his last film now. He's back out of retirement, and I think it's gearing up to be a masterpiece. It's going to be his magnum opus. It's going to be his last hurrah. And I wouldn't be mad if it ended like that. And that's it. Studio Ghibli's done. But I don't think it will, though, because Miyazaki's son also did a few of the last films while he was on his retirement. And he seems to have serious skills. There's a few other people who were making Studio Ghibli-esque animes and films, and there's quite a few studios that can still carry on that style of beautiful storytelling that goes along with beautiful animation and soundtrack. So we'll just have to see. For some more sad news, on to angry news. Westworld came out and rickrolled the fan base, and I was pissed.
I mean, this was something that you wouldn't watch. I sent you a link to it, and you categorically said, "I'm not watching this. I've heard the spoilers in it. I don't want to see any of it."
Yeah, I heard there were serious spoilers in whatever this was. There was a lot of propaganda being spread around the forums about Studio Ghibli being all sorts. No, sorry, not Studio Ghibli. Still got it in my head. I mean, Westworld, the premiere being very spoiler heavy, all sorts of stuff. And I was just like, oh, I'm not watching that then. I was like, I don't want it to be spoiled. I was like, I'm just gonna let it naturally come out, and I'll watch it that way. And then I got this guy in my messages trying to force me to watch this premiere, and I was just like, I don't want to watch it. I heard there's too many spoilers. So then eventually I caved in, because he was like, oh, there's no spoilers in there, like I promise. I was like, all right then. So I started watching it. Starts off, it's the beginning of the first episode, supposedly.
Well,
I don't know how true that is. So he starts off all normal, and we think, yeah, okay, it's cool. Bernard wakes up on like a beach, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's lost his memory. Holster getting shot by Delos security, and they're all talking about how he doesn't remember what happened. And then fast forward, and he's in the city, and he's talking to himself about remembering certain characters. And then everyone stops in the inside the city But then Dolores has normal clothes on and starts singing "Never Gonna Give You Up" by Rick. I just don't know what happened.
I thought it was wonderful.
I think it was funny, but I was so angry as well because I was really getting into it. I was like, whoa, I'm going to get 22 minutes of a premiere. I was like, all right, then I'm in. I was like, I've been waiting for Westworld to return for ages.
Hang on, did you go in thinking it was a premiere?
Well, it was 22 minutes long, innit? So I thought it was going to be like
meant to be a season overview. So basically, Jonathan Nolan, one of the creators of Westworld, said that because of all the stuff surrounding season 1, they're going to publish a video on Reddit revealing the whole plot of the new season if they get 1,000 upvotes, to make sure people stop theorizing and trying to guess what's happening in the season. So obviously all the dedicated Westworld fans that try and guess what's going to happen the next week to try and boost their egos decided this is a great idea. I'm going to really want to find out what's going to happen. Why anyone would want to know that before watching a series, I have no idea, because it's pointless watching it if they're going to tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it was a really good way to sort of say, like, here you go. Actually, no, hang on. There you go. You've just been trolled. Stop messing about trying to theorize everything that's going on and just watch the series. Like, they make it for you to watch and theorize about and stuff.
After. Yeah, not like, we're not going to try and like...
What's the point in, why are people wanting to know what's going to go on? Like, just watch it and enjoy it.
Do you know what I think really is like grinding their gears though? Is because that subreddit for Westworld has actually come up and figured out a lot of things ahead of time.
Well,
and I think
it ruined season 1 for some people.
It was ruining it for people because when we was watching season 1, we avoided Reddit because people were on there just making very plausible statements. There's a guy that came up with a timeline and basically cracked the whole thing about who the man in the black hat was.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the question. Like, I think they put hints in there, and obviously people can work that out. And
yeah,
that's
but
fine.
some people are going above and beyond.
What happened was people were doing that, but then trying to push it down other people's throats, and it was ruining it for other people. And I don't think, like, they didn't like the fact that people were doing that, and then it was picking up stuff in like the news, and the news was saying stuff like articles were saying stuff on the internet, and it was basically ruining the series for the people that weren't invested in Reddit as much.
Yeah, like, he was ruining it for people who were more, say, you know, they were just casual watchers. Like, there wasn't, you know, into fan theories and being on forums and talking about it and speculating. Like, they just watched the show every week, and that was it. Like, they just had their own thing going on in their head of what they thought was going on. But then when it's getting to wider news and more mainstream media, and they're talking about, you know, spoilers, like, yeah, it's getting out of hand, and it's not fair. It really isn't fair.
Yes, but I
mean, excited.
22nd of April, Westworld comes out, so it's a week now. I'm excited. I thought it was this week. I built myself up and then realised it was next week. So
yeah, very exciting. Also, I just want to say one thing is I know, like, we haven't really spoken about Atlanta that many times, but I think we're probably gonna talk about it more towards the end of the season. We're gonna wait for these episodes to go out instead of talking about them every week, because a lot of interesting episodes have happened so far, and it's just too much to talk about. So we will talk about Atlanta at another, probably towards the end of the season, or maybe the season finale. We will talk about Atlanta, but we haven't forgot about Atlanta though.
And I would say, if you haven't watched Atlanta yet, then definitely go and watch Atlanta.
Definitely go and watch it. Yeah,
you don't have to be invested in hip hop or anything like that. Just the series basically is a comedy with a bit of story and stuff. It's fun, and it covers some good topics, and you know, it's something that you could possibly enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, don't watch it. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all you can say, really, innit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just coming towards the end now, and it's been quite a lot of music, to be honest, that's come out. Drake had his new single again. You know, the boy did it again, back to back. Nice for what? This is the ladies' anthem. See a lot of women.
The ladies' anthem. What does that mean?
Well, hey, it's all about girls, isn't it? Like, he made a video and it's just got only females. It was directed by a female. He's basically saying, you know, why do these women need to be nice for? Nice for what? You know, Drake's back on his shit. You know, it's a cool song. I like it. Lauryn Hill sample, very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean,
got
it's
a
a
nice
nice
bounce
song.
to it. Yeah, it's got a nice bounce to it.
There's speculation he's queuing up for a follow-up single to this where he gets his heart broken again, and
What, by Rihanna once again?
yeah, I think that's gonna be called. I can't think of a witty pun here. I'm trying to say something like, I don't know, cheap for what? It's awful, but we'll continue.
Nice for what was it? Naughty for what? I don't know. That sounds gay. I don't know. Naughty for what? Nice for what? I don't know. Nice for what? Yeah, but Drake, as usual, simping. You know, on the day. It's like, well, he always does this though. He always makes like a song like this, but then like, I don't know what his motive or scope for their next album is. With a song like this, I can't really. You know, I can't really pick a sound that I've got in my head for the next album, which is apparently supposed to be coming May, by the way. So that's around the corner.
It depends if some of these are on the album as well, because with OVO Radio and stuff, obviously, he's released. We spoke about this a lot, but artists releasing songs that aren't exactly on the albums anymore, that are throwaways. Maybe they didn't fit the sound of the album, so they release it as a single.
Yeah, that's true.
So it could be one of those. And then albums this week, obviously, we've spoken about this before, but Kaliushis, Isolation came out as well. Very good album. If you haven't listened to it already, I definitely recommend going and listening to it. We included a song last week in the playlist, and I've included a song again this week in the playlist, because this is my personal favourite song this week. It was Tyro's song last week. ASAP Forever, obviously that was in the playlist last week.
Such a great song. That was like a return to glory for ASAP Rocky, in my opinion. Like, we haven't heard him rap like this in a while. So I was really excited. I'm excited for testing, even though he's testing our patience at the moment. I am very excited. I am very excited for testing. Great performance on Jimmy Fallon. Was he on? Jimmy Fallon. I felt like it was Jimmy Fallon. Was it Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel?
I'm not sure. That's not the one I had in my head, but I think it was Jimmy Fallon. Yeah.
Was it Jimmy Fallon? I don't know. I get really confused between Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel because they both usually have pretty similar music guests.
Jim doesn't matter. Moving on.
No, it was Jimmy Fallon. He was on Jimmy Fallon where he performed 2 songs, one that's not out yet, and ASAP Forever, and it was really cool. Moving on.
Yeah. So Chanel by Pharrell and Ray Schmurd. Have you listened?
Yeah, I have listened. Yeah, it's all right. Like, I'm quite excited for Shrem Life 3, which is going to be a triple album, by the way, because it's going to have Sway Lee's solo album, it's going to have Slim Jimmy's solo album, and it's going to have a Ray Schmurd album on there. Kind of like a little bit like a Love Box, Speaker Box, Love Below type deal, kind of like Outkast, which there people are saying that they are the new Outkast in terms of their style. I'm not. Hey, I'm not saying that, Tom. I'm not saying that. I'm saying people are saying that they're the new Outkast. Like in terms of there's the rapper who's more like the harder one, and there's the one who does the melodies, and he's the more like, you know.
So they're basically just saying that someone raps and someone does a bit of this and
more,
that.
yeah, more of the melodic type stuff.
If anyone is gonna, if anyone's gonna compare someone to be the new Outcast, Brockhampton would be better for me than Ray Schmurd. Obviously, there's more of them, but I mean,
I don't know about that, Tom. Brockhampton is probably more the New Odd Future, if anything. If we're really going to be serious,
that's what I was thinking the other day. But then they don't do as much outside. But yeah, we veered off then again to Brockhampton. It's alright. We watched the Coachella live last night, and that performance was insane. I want to go and watch them live when I get the chance to. It's definitely something that I think would be good to go and watch.
Yeah, definitely Brockhampton. It was good, even though Kevin got on Twitter and said that he wasn't very happy with his performance. They had a lot of problems. Dom's mic wasn't really working that well. Bareface's mic wasn't working either. That's why he was pretty much sat out most of the performance, because his mic wasn't working. So they said next weekend they're gonna try and make sure they iron out all the creases. But oh no, amazing performance in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. Coachella crowd's a bit shit, but because that's one thing as well. Tyler said his performance was terrible because the crowd was terrible.
I think that's just Tyler though as well.
No. Apparently, like legit people in the crowd have been saying that it was terrible, and he's even got on to like Instagram and said that the crowd was shit, and he even rapped. He changed his lyrics in boredom, saying that this concert's boring as hell.
Fair enough.
So I don't know what's going on there, but that's a lot of people are saying that this year's Coachella isn't that great anyway in terms of like how it was, like crowd wise, good acts, but the crowd isn't as great because it's just full of just hype beast in it. Like they're just there for show. Like they don't really care about music.
Name another festival that doesn't have hype beasts.
Yeah, true. You can't really get away from it though, really, can you? But at least like you know, like Part Life was a little bit more. People were there for actual Frank.
Well, I think with Coachella, obviously the price affects it as well.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and only certain demographic of people is going to be able to get into that festival and have the maximum best time. If you know what I mean, you have to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, I haven't put a link to this, but it's a song that I've included on the playlist this week, called Alter You by Sabrina Claudia. It's different. I put it as like the starting song. I feel like it's a nice intro. It's a different sound, a little bit experimental, and I just thought I'd share it. It's nice to find something new and share it every now and then. It's what we like to do. Between ourselves, we share music quite a lot, so it's nice to be able to sort of give that to someone else to say, like, here's a song that you may have not heard before, and it's not like a really well advertised new release. So see what you think. If you don't like it, then you know it's there, but it doesn't have to be. And then Denzel Curry's Sumo I've included as well. A good song.
I haven't checked the new Denzel Curry single out yet. I know it's there, but like I haven't played it yet. Yeah, playlist will be updated on Tuesday. Usually Tuesday night we try and get it updated by now. So by the morning time you have it ready and loaded. Plus we also have the collection as well with all the past playlists, and we have the playlist of the previous week in its own archived playlist as well, if you want to listen to that individual one. Getting good positive feedback about the playlist so far. A lot of people like them. We've got like 6 followers on Spotify, which isn't bad. Well, hopefully,
if I could say something, go like follow it. Like if you listen to it and you enjoy it, just follow it, because it does get updated, and you don't have to follow it again every week. Then you can just dip in and out when you want to.
Yeah, when you want, it's exactly the same with the Apple Music one. Once you add it to your playlists, it's there forever. It gets updated every Tuesday. You don't have to do anything. You've got new music all the time, every week, and new artwork as well. And we're quite proud of the playlist, and we're happy with how it's going so far. And hopefully, we just, we're trying to figure out maybe a way to get the playlist on more things, but as it is, and Spotify and Apple Music seems to be the best thing for us right now, in terms of copyright and whatnot and legal music.
Yeah. So expanding on like someone's, people have mentioned possibly put it on YouTube. The reasons why we aren't doing that is, number one, not a lot of the songs are available on YouTube. Number two, copyright issues mean that if someone does put a song up, that song could be removed from YouTube, which means it would affect the playlist on YouTube and the song wouldn't be in there. And that in turn means a lot of manual updating of stuff. And then number four, it's a lot of manual videos to add to a playlist each week, and we feel like it's going to be patchy because not a lot of the songs are going to be in there. And that to us doesn't represent what we're trying to put forward. So at the moment, it's not a viable option for us. But in the future, it could be, or maybe another platform it could be. But at the moment, it's not. So just to sort of clarify that in case people are wondering why it's not on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just a quick response, really. We're not like trying to like call anyone out or anything like that, but that's just the reason why we haven't put it to a different platform. Also, you might have noticed we've switched over providers as well. We are now broadcasting from Spreaker, so no more Buzzsprout, and we've gone over to Spreaker. What else are we on top? We're on a lot of things now, aren't we? So
we are now on. It will say at the start of the episode, but just to confirm, we are now on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spreaker, other third-party podcast sites.
Yeah, we're on some other ones as well. I've got them downloaded.
But yeah, if say mainly all the main podcasting sites, apart from Spotify, that is something we're working on. Spotify harder to contact than you think, but hopefully in the near future it will be on all platforms and be available everywhere, and that's basically what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I think we even I don't think Tidal's podcast format is open to everyone yet. I think it's just exclusive deals, but I think they said they're going to do it in the future, so probably Tidal as well, if we can.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, Google's Play Store podcasts, that's not available to UK at the moment either, so we can't actually submit anything to that.
Yeah, we can't submit anything to that for now, but I'm sure that Google will figure that out in the future. And that's really just about it for episode 5. It's been a lengthy episode, quite a few topics we've had to cover, and I don't know. Any last thoughts, closing statement, Tom?
Nothing really. No. If you haven't followed the playlist, please follow the playlist, because I'm quite happy with the playlist this week. It's got more variety to it than previous weeks. It's got a little bit of sort of indie music, we'd say, but then moving into things like jazz and a bit of jazz influence there, moving into like Outkast, and then grime as well. So it varies quite a lot, but if you want to broaden your horizons and listen to new sounds, then it's definitely something I'd listen to, especially this week, because there's a multitude of different genres that you can listen to.
Yeah, I would probably just say the same thing. Yeah, please follow the playlists on Apple Music and Spotify. You can find all the previous ones as well. You can follow my account. It's at young__t. Young spelled as YUNG, and on Spotify it's just 808s and Joysticks, just spelled exactly the same, but not an ampersand, with an and that's about it. Follow all of our social medias, Instagram, Twitter. That's all we really use. We don't really use Facebook, and in light of everything anyway.
Yeah, Facebook's updated, but it's updated with stuff from most of the other social medias. Instagram would be the main place that you can follow. Artworks are put up there weekly, and you can basically get a lot of your updates on there through the stories as well.
Oh yeah, and feel free to also to message us as well. Like we're open to messages, feedback or whatever. Like, because we're just starting out, and we would love to hear from people who listen to the podcast, because we know that we get listeners from all over the world, which is just mind blowing. So, that's about it really. Episode 5, 808s and Joysticks. Thank you for listening.